Welcome very much to this Capital Day. It's the first time we have organized a day like this, and we're very happy that you all could attend. We will have some invited speakers today. We have Per Rosén with us. Yeah, please. We have Per Rosén with us, who is our first speaker, to talk about the Swedish market. Then I'm going to talk a little bit about the international market. Maybe we can put on the agenda. I'm going to talk about the global market and some of the technology shifts and drive forces that we see on a global perspective. Then we're going to have a coffee break. And you are welcome if you want to take coffee in between the presentations too, of course. But there's a coffee break around 10:30, and then I'm going to talk again a little bit about the US market, and after that we have Claes Wahlund here to speak about especially about the remote sensing technology, which is roadside testing, where we see international exciting opportunities. And finally, we have Peter Stenström, the Investor Relations Manager of Opus, speaking a little bit about the first quarter year report, 2015.
I want to give you some background of the Swedish market and some of the rules and regulations around the market, what we can do and what we can't do, which could affect how the market works. Opus Bilprovning have today 74 stations, 550 employees. We do about 2 million inspections. 1.8 of those are periodic technical inspections, which means inspections that we have to do in a certain way, and they're not voluntary for the customer. They have to do it, either at Opus or some other inspection company. And then there are 45,000 registration inspection, which is new vehicles coming into Sweden, either from Europe or from other parts of the world, and single approvals of vehicles that have been changed and so on. And the rest of it, up to 2 million, is voluntary products that we do voluntary inspection. Here you can see the market. Market leader is AB Svensk Bilprovning, the former monopoly company. It's owned by the government. Next one is Opus Bilprovning. Then we have Besikta, and these first three are all those together were the monopoly from the beginning. Then we have Carspect with 9.2%, Clearcar with 4.7%, and Dekra with 4.0%. And those others are those two small that I talked about. And a little bit of Inspecta. There are some companies doing some inspections that affects the market share, but it's very small numbers. And as you can see on the picture, it fluctuates a little bit, but all the three big ones, if you look at it in a long perspective, is going down a little bit. But in the end there, we start to pick up a little bit again. If you look at the blue Bilprovning, which they're slightly bigger than us, they had 33% of the stations and 36% of the market share, 2012. Today they have 23% of the stations and 32% of the market share. You can see similar things on Opus, 26% of the stations and 30% market share. Today 19% of the stations and 27% market share. Pricing. It's the pricing for vehicle inspection in Sweden depends who you ask, but it's fairly low. I've tried to ask people about, could you take any other thing that you can get tested for 395 to take Opus price for it? Any other technical thing to get tested for 395? I have no good suggestions yet from anybody. So it's low priced. The price has increased from 320 in our case, until 395 for the moment. Opus Svensk Bilprovning have raised the price from 320 to 360, 390 today. Very similar. Besikta has raised from 320 to prices between 395 and 575. There's only one player that's really using price as their tool, and that's ClearCar, and they're saying they're going to be the low price player in the market. And yeah, it's not that tough as long as it's in this price range. For the customer, they can save 1 or 2 chocolate bars a year to use the low price alternative. So there are other reasons for the customer to choose simplicity and other stuff than the price difference in this case. At least that's at least what we think and what we see. We have tried out different things to measure how customers react. Talked a little bit about the IT solution. Now we have a new, modern, tailor-made, in-house solution. Most of it we made in our own company in Tucson in Arizona with our own people, and so it's really tailor-made for the business that we're running. We worked with it for a long time, but Q3, Q4 has been the period where we shifted all the systems. In Q1, everybody got more or less used to it. Now it's in full production, and we can see it already in April. We start to pick up market share again. The implementation has been tough, but it's been a success story. Really, I was assuming that we would lose more volume than we did. I was assuming that before, and a lot of other people assumed that too. For the moment, we're really ahead of the competitors regarding booking and planning, and out of a customer perspective, it's much easier. You can try it by yourself. It's much easier to book an appointment at Opus than the competitors. It's a way of difference. And we have a fleet management portal, which means that we can support all the fleets in the market with a tool that makes it really easy for the companies to keep control over the vehicles and when it's time for inspection. And we have also launched an app which is growing rapidly for the moment. This keeps track of inspection. That's pretty natural, but inspection of the vehicle is not the central point of people's life. Even if you work with this, you can maybe believe that. But we have made this app to work for many other areas, so the customer has a meaning to have it in the phone to use it for other purposes during the year, because you inspect the vehicle once a year. To have an app for that, maybe, but we have developed this app to be able to serve more purposes than that. Some of them are just for fun, playing games when you're driving the car. Some others are really good to be able to know when to put on winter tires, etc. How heavy trailer you can put on this vehicle and your driving license compared to the vehicle and so on, so you drive safely on the road. But also, if you hit a deer outside on the road, it's really giving the coordinates to SOS, so you can easily handle the situation when you have an accident and get help. And we have also added things for those who sells and buys vehicles privately. They have have the possibility to have the agreements in a proper way, so they can use the app for that, and some others. But it's the customers that has it are really positive, and the numbers are going really rapidly up, and we're alone in the market to have a tool like that for the customer.
So let's continue now. I'll going to talk a little bit about the the global market for vehicle inspection and some trends we see in terms of the globalization, but also new technology. And we recently attended a conference in Dubai a couple of months ago, and there is some interesting things going on and a lot of things that's going to happen in the next couple of, 1 to 2 decades in front of us. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. First of all, a little bit of a summary of the global market as such. Vehicle inspection consists of mainly 2 parts, you can say. You have the safety-related inspection, which then includes everything around having the vehicle being roadworthy from a safety perspective. This includes, of course, brakes, but it also includes lights, clear window, that you have the mirrors that you need on the car, etc. Everything that you need to drive the vehicle in a safe way. The other part is the emission, also the exhaust that the cars give out. And the approach for vehicle inspection in Europe has always been to have safety and emission testing parallel. That has been, in Europe, I think we really introduced vehicle inspection in the mid-60s, where in the US, the focus is much more on emission testing, and this relates back to a legislative act that was introduced in 1975 called the Clean Air Act, and it relates to the air quality. So as a summary, you can say outside of United States and Mexico, most of the countries that are looking to implement vehicle inspection are looking for a European approach, you can say. Similar type of inspection as here. In terms of emission regulations, there are, in most countries, regulations. We sometimes face the problem that there are not regulations in place. And in these cases, we actually help the governments to create or write regulations, also legislative texts to do both safety and emission testing. Typically, the South America part of Central or South America is basing their regulations or are following very much what happens in North America, while you can see that European regulation has had influence on other parts of the world. I think this may follow old traditional relations with UK, etc. However, we see the need for more regulations in some of the countries. As you can see, Africa, for instance, is lacking regulations in many countries. And I think CEDA now has something like 120 member states participating. And a couple of months ago, there was a big conference held in Dubai. And I'm going to share with you now some of the strategies and some of the interesting information that was presented on that conference. Basically, the approach is to look at the whole system approach, and that has been really recognized. So all new countries or countries that are looking at how to improve road safety, you have to have the sort of the 3-step approach, which is including the road user, both the driver and the pedestrians, of course, but anyone using the roads, the infrastructure as such, and the vehicle. And there is a great need to optimize this to create safe and sustainable mobility in the future. So I think this is a very clear approach that these things have to work together. If we look now at the development in the next, here it says 20 years, but because of a technology shift and the vehicles are becoming much more advanced, we see a big trend where, if we look at it today, the relationship between these three pillars are that the road user is the main contributor, the main factor in relating to road safety, where the infrastructure is a little bit smaller and the vehicle is the smallest participating part in relating to road safety. This will, however, change in the next 10 to 20 years as the vehicles are becoming much more advanced. I think most of you have taken a flight, and today the pilots are actually not driving the plane too many minutes. I think actually I asked when I was flying to Dubai for this conference, it was a 6.5 hour flight, and the pilots were actually engaged in driving the plane 7 minutes of those 6.5 hours. And this is where we are going on the vehicle side as well. So we're going towards driver-aided systems that are aiding the driver in keeping the vehicle on the road, keeping it safe, avoiding accidents, and we are also introducing, we will see autonomous or automatic driving in the future. Vehicles that actually drive themselves, you can say, where the driver himself will be more monitoring. So in the future, we foresee that actually the vehicles will be the biggest contributor to road safety and keeping avoiding accidents and so on. And this is a big shift that will impact the vehicle inspection and actually make vehicle inspection more important. This is also interesting from the perspective that the developed world, in this case Europe, US, etc., this will have a great impact. So in 2012, the European Union decided on a new roadworthiness package, where the challenge is to actually halve the number of road deaths from 2010 to 2020. In 10 years, we're going to save 25,000 lives in the European Union on road kills. On top of that, there is also last year, 2014, a new directive being issued called 45, Directive 45/EU. And what we're looking at here is to harmonize the PTI, keep the quality level high, and but harmonize them through the countries in Europe. Also to lower the administrative burdens and increase efficiency on roadside testing. And on top of that, reduction of greenhouse gases and air pollutants to save further lives from road transport. And the expected benefits from the emission side is saving about 1,200 lives per year through this directive. Also very important is that this new directive requires testing of electronic safety systems from 2018. And latest 2023, all member states in European Union have to implement this new directive. And this actually puts more demands on us as a vehicle inspection company, or all vehicle inspection companies in Europe, and also makes the need for new tools and new testing methods. So the idea is now to develop new inspection methods and new tools to check these electronically controlled safety systems. As you know, a new vehicle today, a new Volvo, for instance, the new XC90, has about 50 computers on board, where many of those are used to improve safety of the vehicle. And these systems will be tested in the future. And that's a new challenge for us as a vehicle inspection company that will make our inspection a little bit more complex, and we need more advanced tools to be able to do this. Germany is definitely in the forefront here. They have set aside €1 per inspection per year, which is about 60 million euro per year for a couple of years now, to develop technology to do this. And they are actually starting this year. 1st of July this year, Germany is going live and starting to test vehicle electronic systems. They are actually testing up to 50 systems at the regulatory PTI. So this is a development that is being driven or pushed by the European Union to improve road safety further and to save lives, and we will be part of that, and it's a challenge for us, but we also see it as an opportunity. Now we're going to talk a little bit about the US vehicle inspection market, and in our international division we are working under 3 brand names: Opus Inspection, Envirotest, that was acquired a year ago, and Drew Technologies, that was acquired by end of March this year. We are a fully vertically integrated vehicle inspection company that has grown to become the market leader in the US market with about 44% market share. And we have currently operations in 21 of the states in the US, plus some international establishments in Mexico, Bermuda, Peru, Chile, and in Pakistan since early this year. We are, in the international segment, responsible for about 28 million vehicle inspections per year. And if you compare these from the centralized programs where we operate with our own personnel compared to the decentralized programs, it's a little bit more than half. 55% of our revenues come from the centralized business. In this case, we own all the revenue, where in the decentralized programs it's more of a franchise where we are running and monitoring the programs, and we get a piece of the inspection fee. Therefore, the revenue is less. So now talk a little bit about the emission levels in the US and what is happening in the market. As I said before, in the US market, it is a lot about the emission levels, and it's a lot about eliminate smog. And this relates back to the very tough environment that we saw in the 60s and the 70s, and therefore the Clean Air Act was introduced, and this is a federal law that's all over US. In Canada, as a comparison, there is a recommendation or a voluntary similar, but it's not as hard as it is in the US. In the US, it is a federal law where EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, is monitoring the ozone level, the air quality in all counties all over the US. And if you don't live up to the standards, they have the power to freeze federal highway funds and impose sanctions if you don't live up to the expectations. So they have quite some strong weapons. And this standard for the air quality is revised every 5 years. And what happened last year was that the EPA got the orders to issue new ozone standards. And the proposal was to be by December 1, and final legislation by October this year. So in November 2014, EPA recommended a tightening of the standards from the current level of 80 parts per billion of ground level ozone, basically smog, you can say, to 65 to somewhere between 65 to 70. We expect final ruling in October this year, and according to EPA in Washington, there are about 358 counties that would violate a 70 part per billion standard if we go to 70. If they go to 65, we are looking at maybe 558 counties that would violate the standard. So this actually would lead to that in the next 3 years we would see a growing market in the US.
What is remote sensing? Remote sensing have a long history actually and goes back to the late 80s. It was developed at the University of Denver by a Dr. Donald Stedman. And I put up some interesting milestones here. Actually, one of the first client or user for remote sensing was IVL in Gothenburg back in 1991. So it has actually a very long history here in Sweden as well. Envirotest was acquired by Opus Inspection in 2014, and now it's an Opus company. I will give you a quick insight how it works and what's included in the system and the possibilities and capabilities. This is a typical picture of an on-road site and how we're working. And what you can see here, you have the main unit here, and you have a reflector on the other side, and you have a camera unit. And basically, the system are built around UV, IR, and laser, which capture the emission from the car. It's very instant system. We can capture one new vehicle every second. When the car or the vehicle pass this laser here, at the same time we take a picture of the number plate. So it's a very interesting, fascinating system. Remote sensing, that's a seamless complement to existing emission testing programs. It's secured, certified, and accessible. All data stored in the cloud, and it's e-test certified. In progress right now, we ISO certified the system for 17020. And again, all data is accessible for the agencies. And this is a turnkey solution for the authorities. We offer complete service leased as a turnkey solution. The applications. First, we have the on-road enforcement, which we call Clean Screen. Clean Screen is the same program as Mr. Greco have told about in the US. We have also the high emitter program, which we capture only the high emitting cars, which is above the cutting point, which is the polluting cars. And also we are looking into the low emission zone access control, which is very, very interesting for the European countries right now. On-road monitoring, we can do the fleet characterizations and also program evaluations for the authorities.
Yes, my name is Peter Stenström, and I'm the Investor Relations Manager of Opus Group, and I will talk about the financial results for the first quarter. And when the group had net sales of 401 million Swedish crowns in the first quarter, which represented a sales growth of 34.8%. We had an EBITDA amounting to almost 51 million Swedish, corresponding to an EBITDA margin of 12.7%. And it's important to emphasize that we had some extraordinary costs during the quarter. For example, we had acquisition-related costs of the acquisition of Driv Technologies of 1.5 million Swedish crowns. We had shutdown costs of the anticipated close down of the British Columbia program of 3.3 million Swedish crowns. And then we also had startup costs of the California rental program of approximately 4 million Swedish crowns. So adjusted for that, the margin was approximately 15%. But the cash flow from operating activities was 30.6 million, and we had a profit after tax amounting to 41.6 million Swedish crowns. So to summarize, we are a company that is active in a growing vehicle inspection market. We see a lot of opportunities in the years ahead, and we have a large service side right now within vehicle inspection that is over 90% of our operations, of our revenues, and that gives a lot of stability due to the long contracts, also good margins and the strong cash flows. We have a lot of experienced management and personnel in our company. A lot of people have been over 20 and even 30 years in the industry. And we see many opportunities ahead to grow both organically through new contract wins, but also through further acquisitions. And we have a strong cash flow generation that enables fast pay down of the debt and also further acquisition-driven growth. And our goal is to become a global vehicle inspection market leader in both emission and safety testing of vehicles.